very talented guy. And Tim, thanks for coming down from Maine to see us this evening.
The first thing is where we are coming up. All this trip started here in Bangor. As far up the Penobscot River as the ships could go. So all the logs out in the North Woods came down the Penobscot River to Bangor, and there's stories of 100, 150 sailing ships being in there. The logs were originally, some of them, they say they're still out there with the K's on them for the king's timber, for the king's mast that he's allowed to take. So when he came in by boat because things had been civilized and Maine had broken away from the grip of Massachusetts by the and he took sailing ships or steamers up to Bangor and started from there. And he always stopped in Old Town and Indian Island to go through the Penobscot Nation. He was very interested in the native culture, and a couple of his guys, especially the third one, Joe Polis, he spent a lot of time with. This is it actually came out of the archives from over at Indian Island in Old Town. You can still see some of these canoes around in the museum there. Most of their travels were by the river. They used the river as a corridor for their hunting and subsistence and for a lot of the natural materials. So the timbering and the river drivers, when they came in, the main work was usually in the winter. Most of the logs were driven in the winter. They would have camps out there. They would put dams on the creeks. Scot, for instance, which we'll talk about a little bit, had as many as 32 dams on it at one time. The Hunt Farm, that's the first kind of settlement out there to grow food for the loggers. A lot of people don't realize that the water was inconsistent on the east branch of the Penobscot. And so before Thoreau showed up, the Allagash, which is in the St. John River drainage, was actually diverted into the east branch. And today there's still some large percentage of the water, especially this time of year, going down the east branch of the Penobscot, really should be going in the St. John River. And that diversion is still there. The Telos Cut and the Metagamon Dam is part of that system that she talks about. And they did it so the logs would come to the United States instead of New Brunswick. These are the three trips that he made. The first one comes up, he tries to climb Katahdin, he doesn't make it. It gets weathered out. And the next time he comes up the Allagash, and he stops in here, and the third time he just makes the whole loop. And a lot of the times when he came up, there was more and more development. As you read the books, he could get further up easier than he could. He talks about their military road going to Hope, because the Canadians were coming across the border, and the military had to go get them. His first trip was pretty rough, as just even leaving Bangor, there was not much up to Lincoln. This is the 1857 trip, which is the one that comes through the monument, so there's a little bit of focus on this. Now this shows all his camps as he camped through. He wanted to do the trip this way to begin with, and then he figured out it was a lot easier to float down the Penobscot from here and not do any work to get back. So he reversed it, came back down this way. In fact, his last camp was right up in here. He made it all the way down to Medway. That's pretty good. And it's a nice run down there even in today. So this is a picture of what the East Branch looks like today. This is near Hasta Pitch, which is on the upper East Branch in the monument. And you've got Katahdin. This is the view that he would not have seen. This is from a higher vantage point. And when he tried to climb Katahdin, he tried to climb it from the other side, which we talk about. This is a typical deadwater. He talks about deadwaters all the time. There's a typical deadwater that he's seen in many, many places in the monument. So as people started to come here, you've got the artists and photographers. Audubon came in 1832, before the East Branch was dammed. Then in 1872, Yellowstone was established to put the first kind of more emphasis on some of the natural areas. This is the first national park officially that came out. And got Teddy Roosevelt, who climbed Katahdin as a young man in 1879. And he started off in Island Falls, Maine, with Mr. Sewell there, who becomes a key person in Teddy Roosevelt's life. He followed him out to North Dakota, built the Elkhorn Ranch with Teddy, and when Teddy came up, he was this kid from New York, and when he climbed Katahdin, he writes that was a seminal event in his life, going up there. And we'll show you a picture of the Wasataka where he lost his shoe and had to go in moccasins, and we're still looking for the shoe because we like to put it in our exhibit. So then the recreationists started coming, and by the 1880s, that Hunt Farm, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later, had morphed into a sporting camp, and then to a camp of the well-heeled. And this is an Appalachian Mountain Club. This is a 20s photo, but they started coming in the 1880s as well. So it started to become known of what and where Thoreau had done some of the same exact spots. So the Hunt Farm was the first farm, 1830s. Then the Daisy Farm, there's a couple of different names and spellings of it. And it turned into the Lump Suits camps by the 1880s, the sporting camp. The building, that site still exists today. For those of you who are well-versed in Maine local history, this is where Lost on a Mountain in Maine, when the Don Fenwick came out. Fenwick came out as a 12-year-old wearing a potato sack in his underwear. This is where they saved him. He spent 8 days coming down off it. And so the original way to go up Katahdin was up the Wasataka, crossing the East Branch. It is not the way it's climbed today. Almost no one climbed it from that side. The original way to climb it was to come across the East Branch, out of Stacyville, and go up the Wasataka. Roosevelt went up through, Baxter went up that way too. Thoreau notes Hunt Farm and the Wasataka, but if you talk about it, he goes right by the mouth of the Wasataka and doesn't realize it until the next morning. And they mentioned that he'd go by the Hunt Farm. This is his last day. He wanted to climb Katahdin, his third trip, and he ran out of time. Basically, as I remember his writing says, had to catch the steamer. Then this followed by, chronologically in 1906, the Antiquities Act, which basically gave the president the ability to proclaim national monuments, of which a quarter of the national parks right now are actually monuments to begin with, including the Grand Canyon, including Acadia. And so this follows, of course, into our history. The Park Service was then founded in 1916. Before that, the large western parks were actually operated by the Army. The early conservationists, you've got Percival Baxter in here. He first climbed Katahdin in 1921. This is him crossing the East Branch on the way up on the traditional old way to climb. Became governor of Maine. He almost single-handedly got Baxter State Park into existence. He bought 28 parcels out of his own fund money, donated them to the state. Everybody was mad at him. They thought it was a crappy idea. They didn't like it. They were much against it. There's some parallels from the monument that I work in right now that seem to follow that trail. So the similarities are quite striking. Other part followed into this history is Myron Avery, who basically with these guys, Jackman, they got the Appalachian Trail to end at Katahdin. It was supposed to end in Mount Washington. And they lobbied and got it set up so they could get it, and so it goes to Katahdin. So that was another effort that brought people into the region. And then very recently, we've got the International Appalachian Trail, which takes the Appalachian Mountains from the Pangea geologic days to its terminus. Now, if anybody here know where the terminus of the International Appalachian Trail is? Morocco. It's where they figure there's pieces of it. So this trail starts right in the monument, right at the edge of the monument, and goes up to the Bay of Gaspe and Newfoundland, crosses over to Greenland, and over to Ireland, and there's trails with pieces and segments down to Morocco. If you want to walk it, though, you've got to go in the winter for a couple of those sections. But it's become popular. It's 32 miles within the monument. It goes up the spine of the monument. The origins of Katahdin Woods and Waters, this is a story that's fairly well known. Roxanne Quimby from Burt's Bees acquires parcels starting in the 1990s, and she forms Elliottsville Plantation as a nonprofit. She acquires 13 properties, and the deeds are donated to the Department of Interior. And so we became a monument, the 413th unit of the Park Service, on the 24th of August, 2016. And we had 150 people in the office the first day. So what's in our deed? What we have? The proclamation outlines the important features of natural resources, the cultural resources, the history of the monument, some of which we've gone through here. And the intent is for a wide variety of uses. Those 13 deeds each have specific things tied to it. So there are, for instance, no public roads in the monument. They're all private roads that the public can use. We have deeded access on only a couple of them. And so there's still working woods right there. You come into the monument, you're going to see a working forest around it, and you're going to see views and people there. So it's quite an experience. That's where the crossing agreements are. Also, the East Branch, east of the East Branch, you can hunt, and fishing is allowed, except we don't use live bait. And the snowmobiling is allowed. The ITS trail, the interconnected trail system, so you can go north-south in Maine on the snowmobile, through pieces of the monument to make that connection to get up for basically all the way up to Fort Kent. So it provides for wide diversity of science, resources, scenic views, diversified recreation. We have views of Katahdin, particularly off the Loop Road. I'll show you the Loop Road in a minute. As the darkest sky in the northeast United States, no matter what those people from Pennsylvania are trying to market. We've got fishing, the hunting we talked about, camping, skiing and snowshoeing. We roam 30 miles of trail up in the north end. Mountain biking, we have old gravel roads that are really good for mountain biking and fat tires. Canoeing, kayaking, and particularly on the East Branch. This is the Loop Road, and the views right here. Some of the views that we've got, I'll show you. You're looking straight at Katahdin right here. And especially like this week with the colors, it was the magnificent view. And that again down is right there, and it comes right down, and we'll show you where he camped at the Oxbow Camp. The Checkerberry Camp was right in here at the Oxbow. I'll show you a picture of that. And the Hemlock Key Camp was right here in the state land as the road came down. This 1857 route has been memorialized, celebrated this map through the guy Thoreau and the Wabanaki Trail, which was done with the University of Maine and done in conjunction with Penobscot, with Wabanaki people. So, getting to the end, this is where we are today. This is where the river comes down. There's the camp. Right up there. The two camps that we have. Some of the animals that we have in the monument. The moose, the bear, lynx. About a month ago, a couple came in to the contact station in Millinock, and they said, "How'd you do?" I said, "Well, you see anything? Yeah. We really wanted to see some moose and some bear, and all we saw was a couple of lynx." They're pretty common, aren't they? I don't know. But we do see lynx. We get reported lynx sightings about once every 2 weeks. As well as he mentions the black flies rather prominently. His 1857 trip was earlier than the other ones, and he paid the price. So anyway, I appreciate it, and thank you very much.